Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this is your Red Pill News. We're going to start right off today with post 3409 from yesterday, how fake news and the Democratic Party use human psychology to manipulate you into groupthink. Smoke and mirrors. Fake news media's attempt to truncate size of movement while building up size of the opposition. Inauguration Day to current. Attempts to diminish and instill a you are the minority mindset narrative continues. People want to believe they are part of the bigger group. Size equates to accuracy in most minds. Acceptance, the right side. One of the primary purposes of POTUS holding a rally is to demonstrate the massive appeal, energy, and size of this movement, ability to correct false reporting and or highlight achievements and goals, etc. Compare and contrast. 45 rally versus any single one of the Ds. What is obvious and true? Why does POTUS mention crowd size at each and every rally? What is the projected by the mainstream media? Lies become truths, truth become lies. Smoke and mirror. You are the majority. People united and awake is their biggest fear. Do you think it's a coincidence we are being attacked aggressively by some of the biggest media corporations in the world right after our return? If we are simply a conspiracy or a LARP or some kid living in a basement as previously repeated, why do the world's largest media companies continue to dedicate so much attention and time to attacking us? Billion-dollar companies expending resources to stop a LARP? Billion-dollar companies expending resources to attempt to shape the mindset narrative to prevent and slow digestion of the masses? You attack those you fear the most. Why does the media rush to shape events? Why are the same keywords always used? Psychology 101. If you see and hear the same thing over and over again, they do not want you thinking for yourself. They do not want you challenging their authority. Logical thinking always wins. Trust yourself always. Attacks will intensify. Fake news arm of the Democratic Party, enemy of the people. All right, we're going to be right back to break this down in just a moment after a quick word from my sponsor. Roundup Weed Killer, the herbicidal product commonly used to kill weeds by millions of Americans at home and at work, has been declared cancer-causing by agency of the World Health Organization. Scientific studies have shown a causal association between Monsanto Roundup Weed Killer and an increased risk of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Glyphosate, the active chemical in Roundup, is likely a cancer-causing agent according to the World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer, the IARC. The IARC listed Roundup's ingredient glyphosate in Group 2A on its list of agents that may cause cancer. A Group 2A listing means the ingredient is probably carcinogenic to humans. If you or a loved one have been exposed to Roundup and were later diagnosed with cancer, you may be entitled to financial compensation. To see if you qualify for compensation today and get information about the ever-changing legal environment surrounding Roundup and to have your rights explained, please visit www.claimroundup.com. That's www.claimroundup.com and see if you qualify for compensation. All right, so our favorite Anon is saying right here, they have been stuffing propaganda down our throats for so long, and what this movement represents is the destruction of that power structure, the destruction of their paradigm, their ability to control us. They are so afraid of this so-called LARP, of this so-called fake news, that they are willing to do anything, spend any amount of money, push any type of narrative down our throat as long as it makes us think that this is all a LARP, a live action role play. Well, guess what? This is not a live action role play. I am not some kid living in my mother's basement. I am a grown man in a house that I own because I live in the United States of America, and I have done what I could to bring myself up out of the muck, and I will be damned if I allow the fake news media to destroy the movement and the things that we have gained and everything that we have achieved in this short amount of time since President Donald Trump has come into office. And I urge each and every one of you to challenge those around you. Talk to them about what's really going on. Show them the accomplishments of President Trump. Show them the truth of what is being done to them by the fake news arm of the Democratic Party, truly the enemy of the people. Now, next, there was post 3410 First B-2 stealth bomber flew on July 17, 1989, and Mueller testifies 30 years later on July 17, 2019. We are told stealth bomber, date of first flight, date of Mueller testimony, ABCDE 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, B2. Look at that. It's always been there. B2. The code is written. Now, the next post is actually a proof for this post. We're going to talk about 3411 in just a second. But right here, 3413, Lockheed B2 stealth bomber proof. Let's take a look. So yesterday, on July 10th, in this article in Defense News was posted, Lockheed awarded contract for B-2 bomber refurbishment. Lockheed Martin, B-2 stealth bomber. And look at that. Yesterday at 8:06 p.m., later in the day, President Trump said thank you to Lockheed Martin, one of the USA's truly great companies. Now, this was after about midday when our favorite Anon posted stealth bomber, B-2, and here it is. Do you think it is a fluke? Do you think that it is a coincidence that the President, Defense News, and our favorite Anon all in the same day point to the same thing? Absolutely not. This is not a fluke. This is not a LARP. This is not a conspiracy. This is not a coincidence. This is happening. Now, going back to post 3411, the Achilles heel of the old guard is public support. Without it, they are finished. And what you're seeing now with this case against J.E. and all of the co-conspirators and the people that it will be pulling in, this is going to shatter the narrative that the mainstream media has been pushing down our throats for all this time. There was a very interesting article that came out in the New York Post yesterday, and it asked if our favorite Anon had been right due to all of the things that we've been learning. And pretty soon it's going to be very difficult for anyone on the left or even anyone on the right who hasn't woken up yet to say that this isn't real, because it is bearing out. The proof is in the pudding, and we are eating dessert right now. So you are witnessing the greatest coordinated misinformation attack campaign ever to be launched against the public, all in an effort to protect themselves from prosecution and public exposure and regain power, control. Attempted removal of the duly elected President of the United States by illegal, manufactured means. They believed they could win, con public support by controlled assets in media, tech, Hollywood. These controlled assets set out to immediately create division through the use of a pre-designed misinformation campaign. Groups such as ANTIFA were funded and formed to prevent and or lessen the appeal for regular, hard-working Americans to gather and express non-narrative viewpoints. Control of this projected narrative depends primarily on their ability to con the masses into thinking they are the majority. The mindset of most: if the majority of people believe this, then this must be more true than that. Clowns. Classification 1, 9956, human, psychological, and emotional distress. Without public support, they are powerless. We, the people, hold the power. United, we are strong. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shewn that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms of which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably by the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. You are witnessing the systematic destruction of the old guard. We are quite literally in the midst of the Second American Revolution as we speak. War has become different. We have so many people here now, and the control methods are far different. Back in the Revolutionary War times, it was British soldiers on every corner. That was the way that they kept control. Now they have tricked us into allowing them to take the control from us willfully. They've given us these phones, these devices, these means of entertainment. This is like modern day Roman Colosseum stuff. We watch people fight. We watch sports. We watch drama. We watch reality television. We listen to the mainstream media. Not anymore, though. Not us, friends. Not the people watching this show. Not the people that you talk to on a daily basis on your social media. We have broken through the control grid. We are no longer part of this system, and we are taking back our country from despots. And finally, post 3414, there are hundreds of Q proofs that at this point, no chance they are coincidental. Only Anons can fully appreciate the continued validations and confirmations through covert series of mathematically impossible coincidences means in order to maintain structural integrity. Wheels up. This is happening, guys. We are closer than we've ever been before. Don't fall prey to the mainstream narrative. Listen to your gut. Listen to your heart. Look at the hundreds of proofs that have come and are soon to come in the future. This is real. We are really doing it, and it is the absolute most exciting time to be alive. Now, speaking of that manufactured and illegal means that were used to try to remove a duly elected president, the United Kingdom is bracing for the moment it is revealed British intel spied on innocent Americans in the U.S. for the former president. Yesterday's resignation by the UK's ambassador to the US, Kim Darroch, is barely the beginning. Soon Americans will find out that the Brits spied on Americans in the US at the behest of the former president's deep state. We reported more than a year ago that a foreign government did interfere in the U.S. election of 2016, and that government was the UK, not Russia. These pompous pieces of work thought that Hillary would win and they would never be caught. Soon the entire story will be brought out and Americans will be totally outraged. The British ambassador to the U.S. resigned yesterday, but this is only the beginning. Now, we covered this yesterday. Kim Darroch resigned after one day after he Trump bashed, calling President Trump a very stupid guy and a pompous fool. And here is the statement that I read yesterday from Kim Darroch. The Foreign Office Chief, Simon McDonald, said he accepted Darroch's resignation with deep personal regret, probably because all that crap is going to roll uphill onto him. President Trump tweeted after the leaked cables were released. Let's see, what did the president have to say? The wacky ambassador that the UK foisted upon the United States is not someone we are thrilled with, a very stupid guy. He should speak to his country and Prime Minister May about their failed Brexit negotiation and not be upset with my criticism of how badly it was handled. I told Theresa May how to do that deal, but she went her own foolish way, was unable to get it done. A disaster. I don't know the ambassador, but have been told he is a pompous fool. Tell him the USA now has the best economy and military anywhere in the world by far, and they are both only getting bigger, better, and stronger. Thank you, Mr. President. The British ambassador was a nitwit, sharing such things in such an elitist manner. However, such individuals believe that the leaks were a means to soften the blow when the real crimes come out about how the UK attempted to overthrow the US election. From George Papadopoulos, he says the UK knows that the President and Congress read and know about the UK's interference in the 2016 election and are now trying to get ahead of the declassified info that's going to hit the headlines. The UK is nothing more than a hindrance to the US interests in this new era. Rex reports on why the British ambassador was panicking. Put simply, Darroch's cables exhibit sheer panic. But why is the UK ambassador melting down? There's an easy answer to that, and to anyone reasonably well informed, and that answer is Spygate, and a date looming on the horizon, the 24th of July, 2019. What's being hidden from the general public is Darroch's likely role in Spygate, the former president and Clinton's operation to illegally destroy the Trump presidential campaign and rig the 2016 presidential election. We will get to that in a moment, but Darroch also knows that a key date is just around the corner when any hope of his protection from Downing Street will disappear. What is that date? The 24th of July, 2019. That's the day when Theresa May steps down and a new UK Prime Minister, almost certainly Boris Johnson, takes over. According to Rex, the Brits are busted. Their efforts to upend the U.S. election for Obama and Clinton will soon be in the mainstream. The news is shocking. Put simply, on the former president's behalf, the UK was spying on innocent American citizens within the UK, in particular George Papadopoulos. They were also permitting the former president's goons to spy on UK soil by facilitating access, intel gathering, and sharing, and that's outrageous enough. What many have not yet realized, however, is that the UK government was likely spying on innocent Americans within the United States. President Trump gave us a clue how the royals in Great Britain handled the news that the UK's intel committed crimes for that former administration. The Queen stood for righteousness, while Theresa May can't be gone soon enough. This is from July 8th. I've been very critical about the way the UK and Prime Minister Theresa May handled Brexit. What a mess she and her representatives have created. I told her how it should be done, but she decided to go her own way. I do not know the ambassador, but he is not liked or well thought of within the U.S. We will no longer deal with him. The good news for the wonderful United Kingdom is that they will soon have a new prime minister. While I thoroughly enjoyed the magnificent state visit last month, it was the Queen who I was most impressed with. It's all coming out. Grab your popcorn. Look at this. I think Gateway Pundit knows exactly what's going on. Not just the fact that Spygate and this whole deal is about to blow wide open, but I think they know that there is something much more special happening, and you guys know what I'm talking about. All right, now, a Clinton-era State Department official has broken down in tears as she's sentenced to 40 months in prison for conspiring with Chinese agents. Not long enough, if you ask me. Candace Marie Claiborne on Tuesday broke down in tears as she was sentenced to 40 months in prison for conspiring with foreign agents. U.S. District Court Judge Randolph Moss, a former presidential employee of the last administration, said sentencing is never easy, but also called Claiborne's crime a truly grave offense, a betrayal of her employer, and a betrayal of her country before giving her 40 months in prison in a D.C. courtroom. I still don't know how I lost myself, Claiborne said, then through tears. I want to apologize to the government and my family for what I have done. And Jake Gibson from Fox News says former State Department employee Candace Claiborne sentenced to 40 months in prison for passing internal State Department documents to Chinese agents in exchange for tens of thousands of dollars in cash and gifts. Wow. Never a good idea. The Department of Justice announced in April that a former State Department employee who also happened to be a Clinton appointee pleaded guilty to conspiring with foreign agents. She was arrested on March 28, 2017. She made her first appearance in U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia that following day. And according to the DOJ, Candace was a former employee of the U.S. State Department. She had pled guilty in April to a charge of conspiracy to defraud the United States by lying to law enforcement and background investigators and hiding her extensive contacts with and gifts from agents of the People's Republic of China. No, look here, don't look over there, look at Russia, don't look at China, in exchange for providing them with internal documents from the U.S. State Department. Now, recall, Candace had a top-secret security clearance and provided internal State Department documents to Chinese agents in exchange for gifts and benefits. Claiborne was also noted in her journal that she could generate $20,000 in 1 year working with one of the PRC agents, who, shortly after wiring $2,480 to Claiborne, tasked her with providing internal U.S. government analyses of a U.S.-Sino strategic and economic dialogue that had just concluded. Claiborne, who confided to a co-conspirator that the PRC agents were spies, willfully misled State Department background investigators and FBI investigators about her contacts with those agents, the plea documents state. After the State Department and FBI investigators contacted her, Claiborne also instructed her co-conspirators to delete evidence connecting her to the PRC agents, the DOJ said. Sounds just like Hillary Clinton. So why isn't Hillary Clinton in prison too? Well, I think we all know that that is only a matter of time. This entire JE scenario that's playing out in the Southern District of New York right now is going to tie back directly to her and to her husband, the former president. I think that it's also going to tie back not only through their political dealings, but also through the Clinton Foundation and the money generated through there and the help that was given to them by that individual named J.E. So here we are, guys. It is ramping up big time, and I cannot wait to see what comes next. All right, now more troubling links have been uncovered between Soros and Russiagate through Russian opposition official Alexander Navalny. The Gateway Pundit previously reported on the Soros-related origins of the Russian collusion conspiracy. Now there is more information on George Soros' role in Russiagate through the West's favorite Russian opposition blogger, Alexander Navalny. Activist Alexei Navalny became one of the key figures in the fake Russiagate conspiracy theory when he released a video linking Trump ex-campaign manager Paul Manafort to Russian oligarch Oleg Deripaska, reported by The Telegraph in February of 2018. At the same time, The Telegraph had to admit the video does not specifically mention Donald Trump. In addition, Oleg Deripaska denied receiving briefings from the Trump campaign, although he admitted hiring Mr. Manafort as a consultant in previous years. Although it was a big nothing burger, it was fit to print in the New York Times, of course. In 2009, opposition blogger Alexei Navalny emerged as a leader of the Russian opposition and was portrayed as a hero by the Western media. In 2010, he graduated from a half-year Yale Greenberg World Fellowship, which was originally called White House Fellows under Bill Clinton's presidency. The first program director of the Yale World Fellows was Dan Esty, Energy and Environmental Policy Advisor for the 2008 Barry Obama campaign. Soon thereafter, Navalny started an anti-corruption campaign in Russia that was supported early on by Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Vladimir Putin accused Secretary Clinton of supporting Navalny in 2011, saying she sent a signal to some actors in our country. At the same time, Navalny allegedly went to work for the Open Society Foundation's Methadone program, which aimed to bring together actors, alliances from different spheres, as OSF documents leaked by DC Leaks showed in 2015. George Soros supported a whole network of radical left-wing NGOs in Russia before being banned in 2015. Navalny is still closely allied with exiled oligarch Mikhail Khodorkovsky, who modeled his Open Russia Foundation on Soros's network. Khodorkovsky's London-based investigative research unit Dossier, which has often shared hacked documents from unknown sources, was also behind New York Times 2018 claims that Russian lawyer Natalia Veselnitskaya was acting on behalf of the Russian government when she offered allegedly incriminating evidence to Donald Trump Jr. in the infamous Trump Tower meetings. It has since emerged Veselnitskaya met with Fusion GPS head Glenn Simpson before and after the June 9, 2016 Trump Tower meeting, placing her closer to the Clinton opposition research campaign than to the Kremlin. Now, Alexei Navalny and his brother Oleg were recently convicted of embezzling 26 million rubles from French cosmetics firm Yves Rocher, with whom they had a Russian distribution deal from 2008 to 2011. The Navalnys were represented in French court in Van Brittany by attorneys William Bourdon and Amélie Lefebvre of Association Sherpa, a whistleblower defense which also defended Edward Snowden and is supported by the Clinton Foundation's Humanity United, Freedom Fund, and the Open Society Foundations. Although the plaintiff was French company Yves Rocher, who also sued for damages in France, Western media depicted it as some sort of sham trial instigated by Vladimir Putin. While Oleg was sent to prison for 3 years, Alexei Navalny was given a suspended sentence and remains free. Mikhail Khodorkovsky and Alexei Navalny write for leftist flagships The Guardian and The New York Times, where Navalny demanded sanctions against his own country over the Russian annexation of the Crimea in 2014. And Navalny's daughter, Daria Navalny, gave a video statement on New York Times Video on June 27, 2019, a remarkable opportunity for a 17-year-old young woman. It now emerges George Soros and the Clinton-Obama Democrats, who worked closely together in Eastern Europe from Macedonia to Ukraine, have been trying to poison U.S.-Russian relations for years by means of allies like Navalny and Khodorkovsky. An alliance between Trump, Putin, and other leaders like Benjamin Netanyahu, Nigel Farage, Viktor Orban, and Matteo Salvini is their absolute worst nightmare, and they will stop at nothing to prevent it. How many more connections are there between Soros and Spygate? I would bet that there are too many to count. This is so great to see this type of information being brought forward. Essentially what Trump and Putin and Orban and all of these guys, what they're doing is creating the antithesis of the NWO. All right. This is directly in opposition to everything these people in the cabal have done for the last several hundred years. They have been working towards this one point, and at the same time, our guys were working in secret at the exact same time, all in the background. And it took someone like Donald Trump to get elected to allow this to come this far. It is just so incredible, and I can't be any more excited, and I'm sure you guys can hear it. Oh, bad news for Pelosi. It looks like AOC is accusing her of racism for criticizing her and her fellow freshman radicals. She said she's singling out newly elected women of color. Freshman Communist Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez accused Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi of racism, saying of Pelosi's repeated efforts to rein in AOC and her fellow radical freshmen known as the Squad, Representative Ilhan Omar, Representative Rashida Tlaib, and Representative Ayanna Pressley, reported the Washington Post on Wednesday. When these comments first started, I kind of thought she was keeping the progressive flank at more of an arm's distance in order to protect more moderate members, which I understood, Ocasio-Cortez told the Washington Post, but the persistent singling out, it got to a point where it was just outright disrespectful, the explicit singling out of newly elected women of color. Pelosi suggested to the New York Times columnist Maureen Dowd in an opinion piece published Saturday that the Squad has a limited following outside the House. She specifically pointed to the example of the House-passed Democratic border bill in late June, which the group opposed. All these people have their public whatever and their Twitter world, Pelosi said in the New York Times interview, but they don't have any following. They're 4 people, and that's how many votes they got. Several in the caucus were uncomfortable with Pelosi's comments. Congressional Progressive Caucus leaders are expected to talk to Pelosi about her comments, according to 2 officials familiar with the plan. Other women of color in the House have similarly expressed concerns. I can't tell the Speaker to apologize, but I was taken aback by it, because we're all here to work together, said Representative Jahana Hayes, the first black woman to represent her state in Congress. Notably, Hayes, Ocasio-Cortez, and Omar appeared together with Pelosi, smiling on the cover of Rolling Stone in a photo taken in January. I bet Pelosi is not happy about that now. Now, earlier Wednesday, Pelosi was asked about her feud with the Squad. Pelosi on if she has regrets about her comments about 4 Dem progressive members who are often a thorn in the side of Dem leadership. I do not. No, I have no regrets about anything. Regrets are not what I do. Oh, and there's George eating popcorn. This is great. So once again, a perfect example of the left starting to implode and eat themselves. This has nothing to do with color. This is absolutely everything to do with the fact that these are radical communists now in government because people decided to take a chance on them in their districts. Well, it's going to be pretty clear by the time they're up for re-election that they are not the future of America. We are not a communist nation. We will never be a communist nation. These people are fooling themselves if they ever think that they will be able to change America. Now, I am only saying this because of the current climate we're in. They very well could have changed America at one point because America slid very, very close to communism during the past administration. And if the election had taken a different turn and Hillary Clinton had come into office, I think we would have had a much more close to a communist government. It would have been socialist, of course, but it would have had that strong dictatorial nature that you need in a communist dictatorship. So Hillary Clinton would have done great as the next Mao Zedong or the next Joseph Stalin, something like that. All right, and finally, what is going on in the world, guys? There have been a couple stories that I haven't covered. I just didn't have time, but about these prank videos of people licking tubs of ice cream and then putting them back into the freezer at the grocery store. First of all, I always check to make sure that there's a seal. If there's not a seal on a carton of ice cream, I'm not going to eat it. And so if you find yourself opening up a carton of ice cream and it looks like someone licked the top of it, then by all means, you need to get it back to the store. But another woman was arrested this week, only this time for urinating in an ice cream bucket. She was also picking her nose and touching it and spitting on ice cream. And she's a 66-year-old Florida woman. This is not a couple of teenage girls like the last ones. She was arrested on Monday and charged with criminal mischief and tampering with consumer products after she was caught tampering with an ice cream store's products, forcing the store to close for days. Now, she's a resident of St. Petersburg, Florida. Her name is Jung Soon Wipchka, and she was actually caught on video after authorities reviewed the surveillance tapes, and it showed her tampering with the merchandise on several different occasions. Oh, gross. It's going back to June 17th, so maybe this woman started the whole thing. The affidavit said there were 5 incidents of Wipchka using the bathroom that her business shared with the ice cream shop with the door wide open, and then putting her hands in the containers of ice cream without washing her hands. Oh, God, what is going on? Now, here's the one that I saw first of all. A Texas woman was recently arrested and is facing up to 20 years in prison for tampering with consumer products after a video of her opening a gallon of Bluebell ice cream, licking it, and then putting it back into the grocery store freezer went viral on social media. And then it happened again with this fool. This woman grabbed a tub of ice cream from the grocery store freezer and licked it, then posted the video of it on her Instagram account. Not funny, guys. Not funny. The woman said it was a staged prank on her Instagram account. So maybe she bought this ice cream right here. But even if you're going in and doing that, the store's going to have to do their due diligence. They're going to have to shut up house. They're going to have to look at every single thing of ice cream and probably throw them all away, because once they open them up to check them, they cannot sell them again. So much lost inventory, so much wasted food, just ridiculous. I don't know what's wrong with people these days. It is just incredible. Actually, we do have one more story I wanted to go over. So there are apparently illegal immigrant families who were separated under the former presidential administration. They're going to be staging a sit-in at Biden campaign headquarters. You can't get much more beautiful than this. The families of illegal immigrants who were separated under the former administration are staging a sit-in at Joe Biden's Philadelphia campaign headquarters in protest of deportations and detentions that occurred while he was vice president. The protesters are planning to refuse to leave until the candidate agrees to apologize and bring back illegal immigrants who were deported under the last 2 administrations. Philadelphia immigrant families whose loved ones were among the 3 million deported while former Vice President Biden was in the White House will take over Biden campaign headquarters in Philadelphia on Wednesday, the group said in a press release. They are demanding Biden apologize for separating their families, and they want him to commit to return all of them if he's elected in 2020. Sorry, guys, that's not going to happen. So, Biden, you can promise whatever you want. Unfortunately, you will not be the next president of the United States. The protesters allege that the Democratic Party has been complicit in a bipartisan attack on the immigrant community and deporting illegal aliens, which they view as a bad thing. Okay, guys, I just have a tip here for you. If you don't come here illegally, you won't get deported. All right? Don't come here illegally. Don't get kicked out of the country. We have so many immigrants in America. America allows more immigrants than any other country in the world. But you have to come here legally. You have to do it the right way. If you don't do it the right way, you submit yourself to being deported. So don't do it. Just incredible. Here's some pictures showing it. These are people actually inside Joe Biden's headquarters right there. They are clearly upset about the fact that he and the former president deported about 3 million illegal immigrants, illegal aliens. This is not gonna go well. This is just another example of the fake news media and the control arm of the Democratic Party trying to reshape the past and create a new narrative. They want to act like President Trump is the first person in the history of the United States to ever try to deport people who were here illegally. Well, it's not true. The last administration deported far more people than President Trump was even planning on deporting. These demonstrators took specific offense to Biden's remarks when he was questioned on his mass deportation record during the Democratic debate. He failed to recognize and take responsibility for the pain he caused, saying instead that the former president had done a heck of a job, the protesters said in their press release. Well, he did do a heck of a job on America, not a heck of a job on much else. Man, you guys. Okay, so stay on your toes, keep your head on a swivel, and make sure you got each other's six. All right, everybody, I want to thank everyone for joining me. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.